Yo, what's up, all you Stones and Potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are ya?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with a strain that was given to us by our friends from Redemption Botanicals. I'd like to thank our friend Chad Wolf, Bo, and Marshall. Thank you for throwing to the cause. And we are smoking Scented Marker number 5. Scented Marker is an evenly balanced hybrid, 50-50, created through crossing the tasty permanent marker and pineapple fruit strains. This amazing combination creates a super flavorful chilled strain with a happy, lifted high that starts vibrant before taking a heady, stony turn. You'll feel the effects of Scented Marker hit you almost as soon as you exhale, brightening your mind with lifted sense of energy as you feel super euphoric and freed from any negative thinking or bad vibes. I love it. As your mind lifts higher and higher, a light touch of focus will clear your brain, leaving you essentially feeling thoughtless. This focus will soon take a stony turn, locking your mind into a headband-like place that has you ready to kick back. The effects are calm, clear-minded, creative, energetic, inspired, and happy. And the Redemption Botanical teams comes from Legacy. They bought their skills to Illinois in 2023, and they're excited to call Tilton their home. They started Redemption Botanicals with the goal of extracting cannabis we would personally smoke every time. That goal has led them to produce a full range of top-shelf products from premium flower to in-house concentrates. I'd like to thank Redemption Botanicals for throwing to the cause, Mrs. Weedman. It smelled great when I was grinding it, and I'm ready to taste it. And as Mr. Weedman is smoking, Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you a little bit about 8decades.com.
Yeah, you can swing on over to 8decades.com. That's the word 8, not the number. Spell it out. 8decades.com. And there you will find links to the podcast, all about us and why we started the podcast. You'll find some swag for the Weedman 420 show, and you're also going to find our 8 Decades lifestyle brand. So we've got great accessories for the cannabis consumer. We've got storage jars, rolling trays, lighters. No, we don't have lighters. I don't know where that came from, but hey, maybe we will soon.
One day.
And we have hemp clothing from Young Maven, co-branded with the 8 Decades logo. So check us out and see what we're all about and grab some goods for yourself.
Yeah, check out 8decades.com. And I always say, as you buy stuff from our website, you support this show, and we keep on putting out episodes for you every week. And we thank everybody who's been buying, and we appreciate you. You don't even know how much we appreciate you. We do. We appreciate you out there. Also, please, Mrs. Weedman and I are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We're pretty close. If you watch YouTube, you watch our show on YouTube, please subscribe and just hit that subscribe button for us. We really appreciate it. And also, if you go to our Buzzsprout account, you can click on donate to the cause, and you can subscribe to that too and help Mrs. Weedman out and Mr. Weedman out. We appreciate y'all out there, and we'll send you a goodie bag too. So if you subscribe to that, so we thank you so much. So you love ice cream.
I do lately.
Yeah.
I mean, I always have, but lately I especially do.
What's your favorite?
Lately?
Yeah.
Mint chip concrete.
But where do you go?
Andy's custard.
Andy's custard.
Because why would you go anywhere else?
The custard's very good. This was new to me, though. I did not know that soft serve is not legally ice cream.
Okay, but this is not soft serve. This is custard.
I understand, but we're talking about
You're talking
soft
about
serve.
like you pour the bag into the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Dairy Queen soft serve, which I love.
It's a dairy. What is it called?
I don't know. We'll talk about it in a second. I don't know what it's called, actually.
There's a name for it.
There is. But so the soft vanilla or chocolate swirl popularized by Dairy Queen and other franchises just doesn't meet strict government guidelines for ice cream. But as I just said, it's still fucking delicious, right? I love soft serve. It's my favorite. Dairy Queen has become synonymous with cool summertime treats. However, at none of its 7,700 plus locations, wow, I didn't even know they had that many, locations will you find ice cream. Look closely at the chain's menu of cones, sundaes, treats, and blizzards. Never is there explicit mention at what many assume is their trademark food factory. ice cream versus soft serve, Mrs. Weedman.
Mhm.
The reason is the U.S. Department of Agriculture has a rather detailed definition of ice cream. To be legally marked as such, a frozen dairy product usually must weigh at least 4 to 5 pounds a gallon, hold at least 1.6 pounds of solid material per gallon, contain at least 10% milk fat, contain that milk fat as a solid unless the milk fat uh, content exceeds 10%, in which case there's a whole schedule about how much of that fat must be solid. I didn't know that. Did you?
I read this
I know, but
recently.
did you ever know that,
I
though?
didn't know that
No.
before. Yeah.
So Dairy Queen's refrigerated sweetened milk-based product is about 5% milk fat, and it's too light to reliably fit the other stipulations. So it is technically not ice cream. So what is the origin of Dairy Queen? We're all stoners out there, burners and potheads, and ice cream is, unless you have a milk allergy or you can't have dairy, I don't know too many people that don't like ice cream,
Yeah.
especially on a good hot summer day. So, um, this tidbit has made repeat appearances, and today I learned, but don't think the DQ's lack of legally recognized ice cream is the result of some collapse of standards and corporate cover up, echoing the disproven claim about why KFC shortened its name in 2000. Dairy Queen has always served an alternative to typical ice cream. In the 1930s, two of the company's founders, Jeff McClellan and his son Alex, made ice cream with milk fat from local farmers in where? Joliet, Illinois.
That's where Dairy Queen began?
That's where they started in the
Come on.
1930s.
Wow.
They softened and partially melted their products to fit into containers, which were then refrozen and delivered to nearby retailers. J.F. McCulley developed a taste for softer stuff, which was less abrasive to the taste buds, and the two theorized that there might be a market for a smoother ice cream.
Hmm.
In 1938, they enlisted one of their buyers, Sherb Noble, owner of 3 ice cream parlors. In a test run, Noble offered all-you-can-eat soft serve for 10 cents. Oh, jeez.
But he was sorry about that.
Yeah, which generated long lines outside the establishment. Great way to build a brand, though, right?
Yeah.
To build a new way of eating something, right?
Mhm.
We were so used to the hard ice cream or firm or whatever you want
Right.
to call it. To have somebody try it, 10 cents all you can eat. Those kids would be hot summer days lined up for days. So, in the 1940s, selling soft serve since 1940. The McCullough and Noble then opened up the first Dairy Queen in Joliet in 1940, and the brand grew through franchising. Its trademark product is still soft serve, a lighter, less rigid frozen treat that can be dispensed through a spigot. DQ and Carvel, Fudgy the Whale, my East Coast brethren, my Bronx brethren out there, Mr. Weeman still has a very soft heart for Carvel, Fudgy the Whale.
Oh, you always
And I
love
have
that.
not had one since my 30th birthday, and I am now 53 because I went to Florida and my dad got me one. So, the cult brand of the Eastern U.S. have made competing claims of having invented soft serve. The USDA does allow for products with less than 10% milk fat to be solid as light, reduced fat, or low fat ice cream. DQ's product might fit, but what sounds more enticing to a kid, going for a blizzard after baseball practice or getting a serving of reduced fat ice cream? So, I did not know that DQ was started in Joliet, Illinois.
I'm on a hunt right now. I'm trying to figure out where it's at, and it's not where I thought it would be, and the building is empty. I think we need to go open a Dairy Queen. It has a historical placard on the front, and it's right down from the Chicago Street pub.
Oh,
So,
one of my faves.
we could have ice cream,
My favorite bars out in Joliet.
good friends to hang out with.
Yeah. Their cheesy potatoes out at Chicago Street Pub in Joliet, in downtown Joliet, are amazing, by the way.
So if we suddenly disappear and there suddenly is a Dairy Queen in Joliet, we might be behind the counter.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Weedman.
I wonder if we could merge the two things together. Could you be Mr. Weedman, the owner of Dairy Queen,
Sure, why
and you
not?
could wear your costume
I would
behind
love to.
behind
I would
the
wear my
counter.
Weed Man costume all the time. At
And
least
someday
once
we
a
can
week at
yeah.
420. It'd be on every day at 420.
Right?
Come smoke a joint in a dipped
And
cone
get your
with Mr.
snacks.
Weedman at 420 at Dairy
Oh, it's an
Queen.
auto insurance store, and it's
Oh,
painted bright
they
yellow.
ruined it.
What the fuck?
They ruined.
Oh, wait, but then the next Google map says it's not.
Oh, look at
Mm.
that.
Oh,
Well, you
yeah,
like Dairy Queen a
I
lot,
do.
don't you?
I do.
Yes. Andy's though has been your craving lately because it's
Oh, yeah.
closer. It's closer to our house.
Well, no, but
Andy's.
it's
very
ice
good.
cream.
It's yeah. Custard.
It's custard,
Which
and it's
is different
so
because
creamy.
custard is made with egg fat, like egg
It's so
yolks,
good.
right?
Something like that. Yeah. Higher milk fat
Higher milk
percentage.
fat. Custard is delicious.
Mm.
Delicious. So if you're out there in the world, go stop by a Dairy Queen at 420 and you might catch Mr. Weedman in his costume with a dipped soft serve and a joint in his hand somewhere. Just call and I'll come.
You'll show up.
Oh, shit. You ready to get the show started?
Yes.
Let's do this. This is great. This is breaking news, kind of just came out in the last 48 hours from when I read it. And a drug made from marijuana reduced back pain in a large study. So picture this. You've been battling back pain, Mr. Weedman has, since 2010. Chronic ache, stiffness hitting you like a bad habit. You've tried pills, stretches, therapies. Sounds familiar, right, Mr. Weedman?
Yep.
But nothing's really delivering. What if a cannabis-based drug helped lighten the load? Well, according to the new large study, that might not be fantasy. A company called Botanical ran a large clinical trial using a drug derived from marijuana. The results promising. The drug reduced back pain in participants. Key detail here is this isn't your typical smoke a joint scenario. We're talking a formulated drug, controlled dosage, regulated delivery, the kind of setup that could integrate more cleanly into medical systems with safety standards and monitoring. The study found statistically meaningful relief in back pain symptoms. Now, meaningful in clinical sense means that participants had measurable improvements compared to the placebo. Not magic, but real. So why does this matter? This is the heavyweight. For years, cannabis has danced in the shadows of skepticism, regulation, and what, Mrs. Weedman? Stigma. And what do we try to do?
Stomp it.
Right. Pain, especially back pain, is one of the most common responses people turn to cannabis in the first place. If a consistent, tested, marijuana-derived pharmaceutical can deliver relief, that bridges the gap between alternative use and mainstream medicine. That's big. It means more doctors might take it seriously. Insurers might begin to consider coverage. Regulators might adapt frameworks. The door opens wider. But hold up. Got to throw a little bit of caveat and context in here, though. I'm never about presenting something that's like all black and white. There are always shades of gray, especially when it comes to cannabis science. We need more long-term data. How do repeated uses affect the body over the years? What about tolerance, interactions, side effects? Will this drug be accessible and affordable or locked behind price tags? How will regulators categorize it? As a controlled substance, a prescription drug, or something else? Also, will it compete with, complement, or replace current pain meds like opioids or NSAIDs? Can't ignore that. So, I'm going to roll one up for you right here. I like when science hits with flavor. Imagine telling my chiropractor, right? And he knows. Hey, I got my back loosened from weed medicine now. Lascola would probably raise his eyebrows and go, can I get some of that too? But here's the real talk. This kind of research can shift the conversation in rooms where cannabis was once taboo. So some key takeaways here. This is not a free pass to self-medicate widely. Stick with proven regimens. Talk to your doctors. Keep an eye on this study, though, as it moves through further phases and peer reviews. And as I can find more, I will get more out there as I see more studies come out of this. Be open to change. There's a real possibility cannabis will grow more legit in conventional medicine over the next years to come. That's good, though. For all of us bad back crew that use cannabis
The
for
bad back
the
crew.
bad back club, um, it helps. Sometimes it intensifies it though. Sometimes if I take a strain that's too I don't know. I've had some strains before where the heightening of your body will make the pain a little bit more intense. It's weird, but
It's
there's
almost
certain
overstimulating.
yes, like
Yeah.
it heightens my body so much, like the pain reflectors, and then it goes away though eventually. It comes down. I'm like, oh, my back feels fine now. But like at that one point, there's certain strains. I can't remember naming them, but this was like, oh man, why is my back fucking hurting so much? But everything is like so intensified by
Mhm.
10. My senses, my ears, I can hear fucking 2 miles away. I can see better. I can smell my senses in my nose. My taste is the worst when I'm that high. I don't like food when I'm that high.
Mhm.
I can't even eat. So there is certain strains that have done that to me, and it has. But there's a lot of strains that just mellow my whole body out, and I can't feel a thing. I'm like mush. um, this is really good. CBD helps people achieve dramatic reductions in anxiety after just 1 week of use. Though this new study shows, tell us about it, Ms.
Yeah.
Weedman.
I'm pretty high.
Are you
Yeah.
redemption?
Yeah. Like, just moving the microphone like a half inch was a challenge for me.
I tell you what, that bud was super fresh.
Yeah.
There was one little nug in there, and there was one I didn't even cut that one yet. One
Big one.
really big nug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like big and just nice looking. What you could tell it was very nicely trimmed and it was loved and cared for. And I just thrown through a fucking machine and machine trimmed and you
Nice.
got a hard rock.
Yeah.
It looked like real like bud that wasn't like filled with shit. It was
Nice.
actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
All right. So let's talk some more about CBD and anxiety. We talk about this quite a bit. And I noticed that you were talking a little slower. I'm noticing I'm talking a little slower. So, in case you don't know, on your podcast platform, there's probably a button that can make us talk a little faster.
Yeah.
So, you just hit that button and
It's
you can
also
speed up the show.
I forgot to say it's also Happy International Podcast Day.
Hey,
Hey.
happy International Podcast Day.
For 1.4 million podcasters out there. Happy International Podcast Day. Keep on
Nice.
going. Keep on doing it. Don't stop.
All right. A non intoxicating cannabis product that is being sold across the U.S. can ease symptoms of moderate to severe anxiety after a short duration of use, a new study has found. Results from this open label clinical trial provide evidence that a hemp derived, full spectrum, high CBD product similar to those currently available in the marketplace may be both safe and efficacious for the treatment of anxiety, the authors wrote. The standardized formulation of the CBD product is helpful for evaluating how consumers on a broader level may behave outside of a lab setting, the researchers said. The trial included 12 adults with moderate to severe anxiety, all of whom were required to abstain from marijuana use prior to enrolling and throughout the 7-week duration of the study. Participants self-administered the CBD formulation twice daily for 6 weeks, totaling 30 milligrams per day. Participants were tested every visit for the presence of THC, COOH, a marijuana metabolite, through a gas chromatography mass spectrometry device.
That's a lot.
Boo. Within a week of starting the trial, participants reported improvements in anxiety symptoms, sleep, mood, quality of life, cognition, executive function, and memory. Few side effects were reported, and no serious adverse events occurred, the researchers noted. Anxiety is one of the most common mental health conditions in the country. While it is often treated by selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, the new results show promise for alternative treatments. In the study, dramatic reductions in anxiety occurred following just 1 week of treatment with the study product, the authors wrote. First-line treatments for anxiety, such as SSRIs, the paper says, can take several weeks to demonstrate efficacy. The study was authored by scientists affiliated with Harvard Medical School's Department of Psychiatry and carried out at McLean Hospital, the largest psychiatric facility of Harvard Medical School. The results were published in the August 2025 issue of Biomedicines, a peer-reviewed scientific journal. The scientists used a proprietary CBD formulation, also containing trace amounts of THC, from the company Charlotte's Web, which provided funding for the study. The funding company had no role in the design of the study, in the collection, analysis, or interpretation of data, in the writing of the manuscript, or in the decision to publish the results, the author wrote. Findings from the clinical trial provide preliminary evidence that use of this proprietary hemp derived, full spectrum high CBD sublingual product may result in clinical improvement with few side effects in patients with severe to moderate anxiety, suggesting CBD may be efficacious, for anxiety, the paper notes. While the trial's findings show efficacy and tolerability of the CBD product in patients with moderate to severe levels of anxiety, the authors caution that more research is needed. Given the potential benefits observed in this trial, double blind, placebo controlled studies of hemp derived high CBD products are warranted to obtain robust data regarding the safety and efficacy of CBD containing products for anxiety, they concluded. This study's conclusions extend prior studies that suggest CBD may be effective for quelling symptoms of anxiety. Another study, funded in part by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, for example, found that medical marijuana was associated with significant decreases in self reported anxiety and depression compared to before patients began treatment with cannabis. An industry backed 2024 research paper into the potential anti anxiety effects of cannabidiol found that an oral CBD solution effectively treated mild to moderate anxiety, as well as associated depression and poor sleep quality, with no serious adverse events observed. And another study published in 2024 in the scientific journal Adolescent Health, Medicine, and Therapeutics examined medical marijuana patients in the U.S. who are under the age of 21. Researchers found that minor and young adults typically qualify for state cannabis programs for many of the same reasons that older adults do, including anxiety, PTSD, and chronic pain.
Hmm. Anxiety is big,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And if we can use something natural and that comes from
yeah.
plant
Mm-hmm.
versus Prozac,
Yeah.
right?
No side
No
effects.
side effects.
Right?
Neck
Short
down,
short time where
right?
it becomes I mean, I know that if I'm feeling anxious and I smoke weed, just about any weed that I smoke almost immediately just, like, stops the mind from, like, accelerating.
Right.
It can
That's
be,
good.
like, in a matter of minutes, it just kind of, like, calms everything.
I love it.
Yep,
I notice it.
I know.
I do.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
yeah,
together a lot.
I know.
I have a friend that's on chemo right now, and shout out to my friend. I'm not going to mention his name, but uh, prayers for him every day. Talk to him once a week to check on him and see how he's doing. Shoot him a text, and he had a rough go last week. A new article just came out, which is perfect timing. It's called "Comparative Effects of THC and CBD on Chemotherapy: Induce Peripheral Neuropathy." Insights from a large real-world self-reported data set. We're getting deep into a new study that's all about THC, CBD, and how they stack up when chemotherapy strikes the nerves. You notice how a lot of the articles we've been talking about lately has been not just about THC.
Yeah.
It's about THC and CBD and a lot
Mhm.
of other minor. I'm going to read more about some minor cannabinoids on the next article I get to read. But I keep on saying this to people. It's not just about THC. It's not about high dose THC. It's about the balance of what you're taking in your body. And we just read that CBD does wonders. You don't always need a high dose of this. You need a balance. So let's get deeper into this. And how they stack up when chemotherapy strikes the nerves. We're talking chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy, CIPN, and how cannabis might be a real ally. Chemo is powerful, life-saving, and sometimes it's necessary. But it comes with a bag of side effects, and one of the nastiest is peripheral neuropathy. Tingling, numbness, burning, that cold knife feel in your hands and feet. Don't you get in your feet?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
It does limiting. It messes with your whole quality of life. In this paper, Comparative effects of THC and CBD on chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy is about exploring which component, THC, CBD, or both, brings real relief. It pulls from a large real-world data set from Tulkun Olam, a medical cannabis provider in Israel. They looked at about 1,493 patients initially, of which 802 reported at least one neuropathy symptom before cannabis. After exclusions, 751 made the cut for full comparison. That's a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It's just about more than half, right? Patients were split into groups: THC high, CBD low versus CBD high, THC low, and their symptoms, quality of life, daily functions were tracked over 6 months. So this wasn't just a 30-day or 2-week, this was 6 months. Here's where it gets a little juicy. Both groups reported improvement in the nerve pain symptoms after 6 months: burn, cold, prickling, numbness. Many saw shifts. The THC high cluster experienced greater reduction, especially in burning sensations and cold sensations, compared to the CBD high group. Statistically significant. Also, when looking at activities of daily living and quality of life, the THC group edged ahead. More folks felt their day to day improved. Interestingly, they also saw the higher doses of THC and some degrees of CBD correlated with more symptom relief. There was an additive, synergistic interaction combining THC plus CBD gave more benefit in many cases. So, yeah, more THC when managed right seemed to bring stronger effect, especially for burning and the cold neuropathy sensations. So, I got to be real. The study has limitations. It's retrospective based on self reported outcomes, so recall bias, reporting differences, etc. It's drawn from a single medical cannabis center in Israel, so generalizing globally is tricky. Patients weren't randomly assigned. They already opted into the cannabis therapy. That selection bias can skew some results. Does overlap between groups. Sample size is uneven. THC high group versus much smaller. They only focused on THC and CBD. Cannabis has many other cannabinoids, terpenes, compounds, which might contribute. We don't know yet how long-term safety in cancer patients under this model. So while the results are promising, they're not the final word yet. I hope they become a word and maybe a final word one day. So what does this mean for all of us? The study pushes the conversation forward. It suggests THC is not just psychoactive fluff. It may carry serious therapeutic weight, especially for certain nerve symptoms. Dosing matters. It's about more is always better, but higher doses, carefully titerated, seem to deliver strong effects in this case. The combination of CBD plus THC may offer additive benefits rather than competing. For people suffering neuropathy from chemo, cannabis-based regimens could be a valuable adjunct, especially when conventional treatments fall short. But doctors, oncologists, regulators, they need stronger, prospective randomized trials to nail down standardized protocols, ratios, and safety. So you ever think about a cancer patient telling their oncologist, hey, doc, hey, doc over here, hey, Dr. Quack in the bush, I'm going to add a little THC to the mix to up-level nerve relief. That's the conversation shift we're entering. What used to be fringe is creeping into legit clinical territory. I'm picturing the discussion, doctor's notebooks, charts, and you roll in calm. Let me show you my symptom diary and dose plan. That's the future, hopefully, that we all get to see one day. So here's the bottom line. The study gives us strong evidence that cannabis, especially THC in the right balance with CBD, can make a measurable difference for chemotherapy-induced neuropathy. It's not perfect, but it's real steps forward. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
I mean, you use cannabis for a reason, not because only you enjoy it too.
I don't have neuropathy.
No, but you do have other symptoms that you
Mm-hmm.
say it helps, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned anxiety and
Right.
then, tingling in your feet and other things. So, and you use it to help sleep. One's a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah.
So, this is a big one for women out there. So, could cannabis redefine chronic pelvic pain care?
Yes.
Tell us about it, Ms. Weeman.
Chronic pelvic pain remains a major challenge in gynecology, with unclear causes even after extensive testing, leading to empirical treatment and frustration for patients and physicians. Cannabis is now under investigation as a potential treatment option. Patients began asking about cannabis before evidence was available, which prompted us to investigate, said Omero Benedicto Polinato, MD, PhD, associate professor at Ribeirão Preto Medical School. I think I butchered that. It's the University of Sao Paulo, and a clinical advisor in Sao Paulo, Brazil, who led a Brazilian investigation into chronic pelvic pain. Studies have estimated that chronic pelvic pain affects approximately 15% of women, affecting their productivity, family life, and mental health. Identifying the mechanisms underlying pain is critical for effective treatment planning. Nociceptive, neuropathic, and nociplastic pain may overlap. Nociplastic pain, which is predominant in many cases, often requires multimodal approaches to address the central nervous system. The most common form of pelvic pain is menstrual cramps, which can mask complex conditions such as endometriosis or extend to pain outside the menstrual cycle. Many women normalize the symptoms and live with pain for years without seeking help, which delays diagnosis and prolongs suffering. Add to that imaging and surgical procedures that do not always identify the cause of pain. In these cases, pain itself should be considered as a disease linked to the nervous system sensitization. Surgery has historically been the primary treatment for this condition. In the 1980s and 90s, exploratory surgeries were widely performed, often without a definitive diagnosis. Hysterectomy remains common, though, with 4 to 12% of U.S. cases performed for chronic pelvic pain. That's more than 200,000 procedures each year. Although many women report immediate relief, evidence suggests that 1 in 5 procedures lack pathologic justification. Think about that.
Mhm.
Current guidelines state that surgery, especially organ removal, should be reserved for cases that meet strict criteria and should primarily focus on conservative, evidence based, and multidisciplinary care. Researchers have applied standardized scales to quantify pain. A scale adds objective to a subjective experience. When a patient provides a score or describes pain dimensions, clinicians can track its course, evaluate treatment response, and differentiate pain profiles, he said. International studies have shown that up to a quarter of women with pelvic pain have tried cannabis to alleviate their symptoms. Several studies have reported improvements in pain, sleep quality, mood, and anxiety. Adverse effects such as dry mouth and sleepiness are common. The use of cannabis in gynecology, particularly for endometriosis and chronic pelvic pain of unknown cause, is the focus of increasing research. Studies suggest that inhaled forms of cannabis can provide rapid relief from pelvic pain, whereas oral formulations appear to be more effective for gastrointestinal symptoms and mood improvement. Current evidence shows that existing trials are of poor quality, emphasizing the need for rigorous randomized clinical trials. In a 2022 study, Polinato and his colleagues examined the potential role of cannabinoids in managing chronic pelvic pain, highlighting their benefits in cases where conventional treatments are insufficient. The authors summarized the effects of cannabinoids in endometriosis, and the authors highlighted the wide variation in formulations, doses, and routes of administration in real world practice, calling for controlled clinical trials with standardized outcomes before routine use of this treatment. While the observed clinical effects are plausible, it is essential to distinguish the specific pharmacologic benefits from which contextual factors and determine which patients benefit from using which product, dose, route, and duration. The future is multimodal and personalized. Cannabis can be part of this puzzle, but it will not be the only piece, emphasized Polinato. Observational studies have indicated that a substantial number of women with pelvic pain and endometriosis self manage with cannabis, reporting improvements in pain, sleep, mood, and gastrointestinal symptoms. Although these findings are encouraging, they are mostly self reported and non randomized data, highlighting the need for further research. A recent consensus acknowledged that patients with pelvic pain and other gynecologic conditions use cannabis while highlighting methodological limitations, product variability, and the need for standardization to support safe clinical conclusions. In Brazil, regulatory barriers, stigma, and limited funding have hindered research progress. However, patient demands and academic interests are creating new opportunities in the field. Polinato emphasized the need to generate high quality data adapted to the national context and promote changes in medical training. Gynecologists are trained to operate and prescribe hormones, not to manage chronic pain as a neurobiological condition. And this needs to change, he said. The future lies in recognizing pain as legitimate, treating it seriously, and offering women a horizon of hope. Polinato concluded.
That's
Thanks,
good.
dude.
That's good stuff.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's a good study, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
CBG, the mother of all cannabinoids. There is this study that for memory impairment, neurodegeneration, and neuron inflammation caused by transient global cerebral ischemia in mice. This was a study about CBD. This is very promising. CBG, how it may protect the brain after a massive event, global cerebral ischemia. That's fancy talk for when blood supply to the brain is cut off temporarily. In this case, this was tested in mice. Those mice, to get all the good stuff.
Hmm.
CBG is one of those lesser celebrated cannabinoids, unlike THC, is psychoactive, meaning it doesn't mess with your head the way THC does. It's got anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and neuroprotective appeal. And what's key, it's lipophilic, so it crosses the blood-brain barrier cleanly. The researchers wanted to see, can CBD step in after an isometic event and protect memory, neurons, reduce inflammation, and preserve brain plasticity. The answer, signs point yes.
Hmm.
They used a model called bilateral common carotid artery occlusion in mice, essentially blocking main blood vessels to mimic transient global cerebral ischemia. Right after, they dosed animals with CBG, 1, 5, or 10 milligrams for 7 days. Then they watched behavior, memory, brain tissue, inflammation markers, the full spectrum. So what went down? Some findings. Memory and cognition. In the object location test, which measures spatial memory, mice that underwent ischemia showed deficits 24 hours later. But the group treated with the highest dosage CBG, 10 milligrams, reversed the deficit. They performed comparably to the control group, meaning memory was rescued. Lower doses, 1.5 milligrams, didn't hit statistically significant on the metric. In the hippocampus, the CA1 and CA3 regions, ischemia caused loss of neurons and degradation of, I have all the hard words today, dendrites. CBG, especially in CA1, 1 milligram dose, already showed a protective effect for dendritic structure. So here's the neuron inflammation and the guile response. Ischemia cranked up markers like the IBA1 and GFAP. CBG, particularly at the 1 milligram dose, prevented the guile surge in both the CA1 and CA3 regions. It also restored levels in the NG2, which is guile precursor cell marker, that were depressed by ischemia. Plasticity and growth signals. They measured the DCX, marker of the neuron growth, and the BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. Ischemia increased DCX and BDNF levels. CBG didn't suppress the increase in DCX, so growth potential remained. But interestingly, it brought the BDNF expression closer to the baseline. The ratio of the BDNF to pro-BDNF was also modulated by CBG. The nuance, don't get it twisted. This is in vivo in mice. Results may not translate neatly to humans, but we need what? More research.
Mhm.
They dose for 7 days, post ischemia only. We don't know how long term effects beyond 14 days. They haven't fully nailed mechanisms. CBG might act through the CB1 and CB2 receptors modulation. The PPAR-Y and the TRP channels, serotonin 1A and A2 adrenergic receptors. There's a web of possible interactions. Man, we have a lot of those going through this body, right? Man.
You've said a lot of letters.
I know. It's crazy.
Don't know what you're talking about.
And probably the world doesn't either.
It's all right.
But if something like this happened to somebody, they know.
You might.
You
yeah.
might, right. The dose response isn't linear. Sometimes lower doses did better in some measures. Higher doses did best in others. The study is limited in sample size, focused brain areas, many more studies needed. So what this means for us in the green realm, this is a strong support that CBG isn't just background noise. It's got serious neuroprotective potential. And events of stroke, ischemia, brain injury compounds like CBG might hold therapeutic promise, especially in the acute window. Because it's non-psychoactive, CBG might be more acceptable in clinical settings, less stigma, fewer side effects. We got to push for human clinical trials, dose optimization, long-term safety data. So imagine rolling into the neurologist's office and dropping, "Hey, doc, I want to try CBG to help repair post-stroke damage." And they would be like this. They would do what? The double take, the old double. Or they'd be like, let me check your med list. Maybe adjust some protocols. But that's the shift. Once science catches up, the conversation won't be weird anymore. It'll be standard care talk. That's where I hope we're headed. So there you have it. The study gives real credence to CBG as protecting the brain and ischemic injury. It preserves neurons, tames inflammation, helps memory rebound. It's not a magic bullet, not yet, though. But it's lighting up with some possibilities, Mrs. Weedman.
That's good.
All right, Mrs. Weedman and I went to the beach, and I could say that at the end of September, the last Saturday in September, it's still 83 degrees here in Illinois. So Mrs. Weedman and I decided to go to the beach. And we went to the Warren Dunes. And if you live in the Midwest and you've never been to the Warren Dunes, I suggest you go and watch the sunset from the top of the dune. It was amazing. So we went, and then we wanted to go. We went and had Red and Max, which is a great burger joint. Oh, so good. And then we wanted to go check out the 15,000 dispensaries that are right off 94. So we stopped at one of the dispensaries, and what I noticed...
There's one exit where there are literally like a dozen dispensaries like in all the turnstiles of the exit. There's just dispensaries.
What was
Huge.
that? What was that exit that we got off?
Exit 1.
Exit 1, right?
New Buffalo.
So we went to one of the dispensaries there, and what Mr. Weedman noticed was when people were getting flour, asking for flour, the first thing that they said to the customer was, "It's testing at 28%. It's testing." Every customer that came next.
They had deli-style cannabis.
Yes.
So that means it was just clear. They were clear, like the pasta container with the button lid, the suction cup lid. It was basically those, and then on the front they had kind of like the label of whatever was inside of it.
Right.
And they would bring these jars off and let everybody, like they'd open them and people would shove their face in there and sniff it. And then they'd close it and put it back on the shelf after weighing out whatever the person wanted.
Right.
So that's
which I like deli style.
That's deli style.
Yes.
It's not everywhere.
I just wish they didn't have them in like open, like
I just feel like the jar.
containers.
I mean, yeah.
I wish they were like
yeah.
glass, like black.
I think they probably turn through it so fast.
But the point is that we've talked about this on the show so many times, and I've had people on the show and conversations off the show with people at events about THC and how we've trained the consumer to only look for THC content. And that the 5 customers that were next to us, they were all getting flour, and the first thing they said was, "It's testing at 28%, or it's testing at 25%. Oh, this one's testing at 32%. I'm not going to get on my high horse about that right now, because Mrs. Weeman's going to talk to you about, is the THC game rigged?
Yes.
Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Yes. Walk into almost any dispensary today and you'll hear it. This one's testing at 32%. Bud tenders pitch high THC flower as if they're golden nuggets. Consumers rush to grab the jars with the highest numbers, and brands plaster the percentage like a badge of honor. In today's market, potency percentages aren't just selling I'm sorry, they're not just a selling point, they've become the entire identity of cannabis. But here's the problem: THC percentage is one of the most misleading and manipulated metrics in the industry. Consumers think it's the ultimate measure of quality. Growers feel pressured to breed for nothing but numbers, and labs are under fire for inflating results. The truth is uglier than most realize, though, and it's reshaping the future of cannabis in ways that could leave everyone worse off. Legalization brought cannabis into the mainstream, but it also reduced it to a math problem. More THC equals better weed. For new consumers, especially those used to alcohol's ABV schedule, the highest number on the jar feels like the safest bet. Why pay for flower labeled at 18% when a 32% strain promises almost double the strength? But veteran consumers know better. Anyone who's smoked long enough knows a 17% strain can knock you flat, while a 30% bud can feel oddly underwhelming. That's because cannabis isn't a single compound. It's a whole ecosystem, with each element working together to create balance and effect. Cannabinoids, terpenes, flavonoids, they play together to create the high. This is known as the entourage effect, and it often matters far more than raw THC content. Still, dispensary buyers reinforce the fixation. Many often refuse to stock high quality flower if it tests below 25%, no matter how flavorful or unique it is. Growers know this, and many admit that they feel trapped, chasing numbers just to stay on shelves. So if THC percentages are gold standard, who weighs the gold? Well, testing labs. And that is where the cracks widen. Across legal states, lawsuits and regulatory investigations have revealed what many in the industry have whispered about for years: inflated THC results. In Nevada, labs were disciplined for overstating potency to attract business. In California, class action lawsuits accused brands of knowingly selling flower with exaggerated potency numbers. Even more troubling, scientists argue that many of the sky high results aren't even chemically possible. Most natural cannabis falls in the 15 to 25% THC range. Anything consistently testing at 35% should be a unicorn, not a Tuesday menu
I
special.
love that.
Yet, somehow, 35% strains pop up everywhere. The practice of lab shopping, sending product to whichever lab will give the most flattering number, has become an open secret. Brands want inflated results because consumers demand them. Labs that refuse to inflate risk losing clients. It's a vicious loop. Bad data fuels bad consumer habits, which forces growers and brands to chase a standard that doesn't even exist. And while everyone obsesses over THC, terpenes get pushed to the background, even though they're the compounds responsible for flavor and much of the effect. They're harder to market with a single number, and they don't sell as fast as 33% THC, so they get ignored. For cultivators, the THC arms race is more than frustrating. It's limiting. Genetics that shine for aroma, flavor, or unique effects are often ignored if the THC isn't high enough. And farmers face tough choices: harvesting early to lock in THC while sacrificing terpene development, selective breeding only for potency, leaving other plant traits behind, running crops of the same high-testing genetics, narrowing diversity, and pushing heirloom strains toward extinction. The result is a market flooded with high THC strains that often lack flavor, balance, or nuance. Cannabis becomes homogenized, and consumers lose out on the diversity that once defined the culture. But not everyone is playing the game. A growing number of sun-grown cultivators are giving a loud, unapologetic fuck you to the THC chase. These farmers argue that cannabis should be measured by its full spectrum of qualities: smell, flavor, balance, sustainability, and not just a number. Regions like Humboldt County and parts of Oregon have many commercial growers that are known to focus on terpene-forward, sun-grown flower that honors the plant's full cycle. For them, THC obsession isn't just bad science, it's a betrayal of the plant itself. Many of these lower testing batches end up delivering a richer, more memorable high than their supposed 32% counterparts. Anyone who's smoked well cured, terpene heavy, sun grown knows the difference. Your body feels it even if the label doesn't scream it. For consumers, the costs are both immediate and long term. On the immediate side, newbies chasing the strongest weed often wind up anxious, paranoid, or simply disappointed when a 32% strain doesn't deliver the euphoric ride they expected.
That's my favorite part.
For veterans, the tragedy is missing out on incredible flower, strains with complexity, flavor, and cultural history that never make it past dispensary buyers because the THC didn't test high enough. In the long run, the obsession with THC threatens to erode cannabis education. Instead of teaching people to evaluate flower by sight, smell, trichome density, curing quality, and terpene profile, the legal market is training buyers to shop by a single inflated number. If everyone knows the THC numbers aren't accurate, how does it affect confidence in the whole system? Because consumers may eventually turn away, undermining the very stability that legalization promised. And this is where the certificate of analysis, or a COA, matters. Learning to read and understand these lab reports is one of the most important skills for cannabis consumers. The report provides a transparent breakdown of cannabinoids, terpenes, and safety testing, helping you verify both potency and purity. Even if the reports are inflated, knowing how to interpret a COA empowers you to make confident and informed choices. Cannabis was never meant to be reduced to a number. From landrace strains preserved in remote valleys to the underground breeders who fueled the modern scene, diversity and creativity have always defined the plant. But with dispensaries chasing numbers and brands marketing inflated labels, cannabis risks falling into the same trap as industrial agriculture: uniformity at the expense of flavor, diversity, and tradition. If the industry doesn't course correct, we could lose an entire generation of genetics, knowledge, and culture in the pursuit of a big THC bubble. Fortunately, there are signs of hope. Some dispensaries are beginning to highlight terpene profiles on menus. A few brands are experimenting with effect-based labeling like calm or uplifting, rather than just potency numbers. And growers who refuse to play the THC game are building cult followings with consumers who actually care about craft. The real challenge is the shifting consumer mindset. Just as the community is slowly moving past the tiered indica sativa hybrid labels, it is time to dethrone THC as the kingmaker. That shift won't happen overnight. It has to start with education, honesty, and more people willing to say that THC is only the tip of the iceberg. THC percentage is the biggest lie in cannabis. It's a marketing gimmick propped up by lab games, consumer misconceptions, and industry pressure. It misleads buyers, limits growers, and risks iconic cannabis genetics being left behind. So next time you're at the dispensary, ignore the sticker and trust your nose, your taste, and your experience, because that's where the truth of cannabis lives. And so I thought it was interesting. 2 days ago, someone who read this article commented, and I thought this was important to share.
Yeah,
This
sure.
was from a screen named Steve26. And he said, I became a consumer of herbal cannabis in 1970 after my introduction to it in the form of hashish while serving in the army in Germany late in the 60s. Today, as a legal grower and consumer in my 80s, I've been continually confused by the, quote, cannabis is now stronger, quote, message that has become prevalent. I know that the product that I was getting from growers in Missouri Ozarks had the same or better effect than the stuff that I now get with high THC labeling. Thank you for this article that clears things up. Now I guess I have to switch my seed selections to strains and breeders that have been around as long as me.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I was by High Times and D Savage. Great article.
Yeah.
Must have listened to our show for the last 6 years or something, because we've been talking about this for a long time. God, I can go on. I can go on and preach about this for days, but I won't.
It's just like a thing that happened. You know, like it
Overnight.
started off with the indica sativa, and then everyone was like, "That's not really the best way to explain because it just isn't. The same
It's the
strain could be
style of the
different for you
plant.
than
Right.
me, and it just doesn't. It's not that simple to generalize." So then it shifted to THC,
Mhm.
and now, like they're saying, it's just that's like all that people know about, and it's just misinforming people. You
Yeah.
you take the newest of to like even a savvy consumer. If they don't really read about much, they just use their dispensary to get educated on product, they're not getting educated.
Right.
It's a disservice to
Yeah.
to the public.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got on your soapbox.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry.
No, I'm glad you did. I mean, it's just education, 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 and what your body wants, and it's just don't get me wrong. There's some people that might need it, but
I think it's an important factor,
yes,
but
but
it's one part of the big
your
picture.
endocannabinoid system was not meant to take that kind of just like drinking, you know, 15% beers every day, 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah,
What are
just
you
too
doing to
much.
yourself? Before we go to political, state, and business news, why don't you light that joint up by
Okay.
Redemption Botanicals and let's get higher. So while Mrs. Weedman's lighting that up, we'll go into political, state, and business news. So Illinois, the DCEO dropped new facts updates for round 3 of its Cannabis Direct Forgivable Loan Program, and they're pouring $40 million into it. You should pour more because you made $460 million last year in tax dollars. So eligible social equity growers, infusers, transporter, dispensaries can sign up if you have not already. The date was unfortunately September 25th. So sorry, this show is now September 30th. I'm a little late on the news on that one. Illinois touted equity legalization, but now minority cannabis businesses are screaming foul. Powerful firms grabbed 91% of grower sales and 78% of dispensary sales, despite minority licensings being handed out. Talk about promises gone up in smoke. This ain't progress. It's more corporate takeover with a social justice facade. I'm going to take a hit.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, they're top
It's
dog.
flavorful
Yeah,
too.
they do a good job.
I don't have the good taste buds anymore to tell you what the flavor is, but I can tell that there's flavor
Yeah,
there.
it's very nice.
Yeah.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is threatening an executive ban on hemp-derived THC if lawmakers still can't push regulation. Why? Because these unregulated Delta 8 and 9 goods are popping up everywhere. Hemp brands want oversight, not outlawing. Let's see if Springfield snaps into action or Pritzker smokes them out himself. Trump, a couple of days ago, just dropped a video spotlighting cannabis. Medical perks for seniors, pushing Medicare coverage for hemp-derived CBD as a game changer. The clip produced by the Commonwealth Project argues CBD can ease pain, inflammation, cognitive decline, and calls doctors to get schooled on the endocannabinoid system, all while the White House mulls rescheduling marijuana at the federal level. Imagine your grandma telling your doctor, "Get me that CBD script," and the doc's jaw just drops. We're living in the future.
Your grandma voice is pretty funny.
Hey, glad I still can make you laugh after all these years. Michigan lawmakers just passed a 24% wholesale marijuana tax, admitting to haul in $420 million a year for roads and infrastructure. The proposed Comprehensive Road Funding Tax Act would impose a 24% tax on wholesale price of marijuana sold or transferred to retail shops. 24%. You know who's going to pay that? The consumer, because prices right now. I went to Michigan on Saturday, Mrs. Weedman, and I got 2,400 milligrams of edibles for $50.
That's insane.
$50.
You'd walk out with
It cost me 20
two of
bucks in
the- you'd have-
Illinois
you'd have 2 packages.
for 100 milligram. If you don't have it, if they're not, if an
You
edible,
get 200 milligrams for $50 in Illinois.
yeah, and you can only buy up to 500
Right.
milligrams. So if they're not on sale, 500 milligrams at $100.
Is it buy one get one in Illinois?
Some places do it, and there's a lot of sales, 30% off, 25% off, but 2 for 30, whatever. But
Yeah.
if your edible brand's not on sale that day and you like that edible brand, you're paying top dollar.
Right.
I went to Michigan and got 2,400 milligrams.
Dang.
24,
That's a deal.
12, 200 milligram bags.
Same brand.
Same brand for $50.
Wow. I was there. I'm still wow.
So
Like, tell me that
so
again.
now, but here's the deal. So now you're gonna go up to 24%, right? And so let me finish this. Sorry.
Yep, yep,
I
yep.
got a little
A little
yeah, I
sidetrack.
got a little fucking heated there for a second, everybody. Sorry.
Come on back. Come on back,
So
Mr.
this
Weedman.
act would impose a 24% tax on wholesale price of marijuana sold and transferred to retail shops beginning in January. Cannabis industry folks warn this tax hike might push customers back to the black market, collapsing profits and jobs. Don't worry about them going back to the black market. Collapsing profits and jobs, and the pricing that you're giving right now, you can't beat it in the Midwest. Bipartisan support guided through the House at 78 to 21. Now it's off to the Senate. Pay a fat tax for better roads or drive on potholes and dodge the police. The choices we have to make to get weed, right? I'm just telling you, I can't remember the HB or whatever the fuck they're calling this bill. Whatever it is, maybe Mr. We can look it up or
Yeah,
while I'm finishing this. I'm just telling you right now, this will destroy the Michigan industry. Because there was 6 dispensaries that we drove past and every parking lot was full.
it's called the HB 4964, and it is a key bill that would repeal the current Industrial Hemp Research and Development Act and create an Industrial Hemp Processing Act to regulate consumable hemp products. The proposed bill would ban intoxicating and chemically converted cannabinoids and would require licenses for hemp processors. Additionally, Michigan is considering other bills such as the HB 5040, which focuses on licensing for processing, brokering, and marketing hemp and its products. So they're going to start putting regulation on it like cannabis,
Yeah,
which will
what's
knock
the tax bill?
so many
What's the
people
tax
out.
bill one though?
Oh, tax
The
bill?
24% one. So while you're looking for that,
24, yep.
there's an Ann Arbor state senator, Jeff Irwin, who isn't down with that. He's joining the cannabis industry and pushing back. He warns it'll crush dispensaries, drive sales underground, and undo the legal market gains, like what's happened in Cali. You want better roads, tax joints? That's like charging extra for breathing oxygen. What's the bill?
Oh, shoot. I clicked on something else. State lawmakers last week voted 78 to 21 to
Right.
impose a 24% tax on the
Right.
wholesale price of marijuana sold or transferred to a retail shop beginning January 2026. And
You didn't find the bill number.
no.
Okay. So anyway, so whatever the bill number is, you need to call your senator right now and tell him that you don't want this to happen. You don't want this to happen. This Ann Arbor Senator Jeff Irwin, get on his side. Do not let this happen, Michigan. You will be
It's
fucked.
an illegal amendment to the recreational marijuana law that voters approved in 2018. So the Cannabis Association is consulting with attorneys, and if they feel strongly, the new tax would amend the 2018 initiative, and they would sue them. It doesn't say that it's a bill.
It is. It's something HB something. I can't remember. I'm sorry, everybody. I failed you. Kentucky hemp farmers are sounding the alarm. They've urged Senator Mitch McConnell not to redefine hemp products with stricter THC caps, warning of immediate and catastrophic consequences for their $28.4 billion industry. The farmers sent a letter demanding a meeting on protection. That's like flipping the table mid-hand in poker. You'll kill the game when you change the rules after the bets are placed. St. Louis County just dropped a bill that would have banned selling intoxicating hemp cannabis products outside licensed dispensaries. Retailers pushed back heavy, and the sponsor pulled it. When your plan gets smoked out before the vote even passes, that's kind of a drama you can't write. Vermont cannabis shops just rolled out the Canna Trail, like a beer or wine trail, linking 23 stores statewide. Visit, collect stamps in the booklet, hit the quota, snag a prize. Imagine being a tourist, hopping from dispensary to dispensary, getting your travel high fives and perks. That's some next level ganja tourism right there. Kamala Harris is calling out Joe Rogan, claiming he lied when he said she refused to talk about marijuana legalization on his podcast. In her new book, she says her team actually pitched cannabis among suggested topics, but Rogan's team shut it down. I call bullshit on that because Joe Rogan always loves talking about cannabis, but what do I know? That's like ordering pizza and Rogan saying you refuse toppings. when you sent him the full menu. Massachusetts Attorney General certified a 2026 ballot petition aiming to wipe out the state's $1.6 billion adult use cannabis industry. Massachusetts. That means ending licensed growers and dispensaries. The petitioners need to collect 74,574 signatures by December to make the ballot. Don't sign it. Don't sign it. That's like telling the chef to unbake the cake. You just can't pull the oven handle and rewind the flavor, though. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
Michigan also has stalled their cannabis consumption lounges because they're missing somebody that's in charge of it all. They can't find the person. I don't know. Who fuck knows?
Did they forget to hire someone?
No, they fired somebody, but now this person was in charge of that, and they're waiting to bring somebody else in.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you were just in Massachusetts.
Yes.
How was the dispensary?
The dispensary was very like convenience store. It was set up to feel like you were walking in a subway station, and it was just a bud tender, kind of in the ticket booth.
Yep.
And then once you tell them what you wanted, the order gets put over to the tellers, and that was like a stand-up counter where you'd get your ticket,
Right.
and then you got your product and you left. It was short and sweet.
Nice.
It was cute. It was a vibe. It was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the service? Good?
Service was great. And I couldn't really tell you how much variety they had because I went online and previewed, so I knew what I
Right.
was buying. So I
Right.
didn't shop when I was in the store. But I think you shopped in the store on a
Little kiosk.
yeah,
Just a
kiosk.
little screen.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to Massachusetts.
Consumption was weird though. Like I never really smelled it while I was out and about. And didn't really see anyone smoking anything. I didn't really see vapes or because I wanted to light up and I was trying to find a place where I could blend in with other people that might have been smoking. And that wasn't the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Chicago's
So
still
maybe
the
I was
best.
being really risky
Chicago's still the best.
by consuming out in the middle of a park, but I don't know.
I mean, you go to all the neighborhoods and down around Chicago. I mean, we're at a bar somewhere. We outside. We pull out a joint. And people join us.
Yeah.
So, Michigan Supreme Court just ruled the smell of weed alone is no longer enough probable cause for police to search a car. They overturned the 25-year precedent in a 5-1 decision. Smell plus other behavior, maybe, but I smell ganja, let me in, ain't cutting it. That's like cops saying, I smell cookies in your house, or maybe fresh donuts. Doesn't mean you're baking donuts. Now over to you, passing the joint back to you, Mrs. Weedman.
Yep, I've got more political, state, and business news. Heads up, my people. Extract Labs just issued a global recall of over 61,000 CBD gummies after a peanut protein contamination was discovered.
Oof.
They pulled 4 varieties: mixed berry, elderberry, blue raspberry, Mai Tai, being sold in the United States and abroad.
That's a lot of trying to
That's a
find
lot.
those. Yeah.
So check your products. Virginia hit nearly $30 million in medical marijuana sales in July and August since seed to sale launched. That's far above what anyone projected. About 256,432 transactions and 103,900,000 registered patients. The demand is real.
And they're recreational, but have no stores you can buy rec in.
Oh.
So their medical program is doing very well. Probably do even better. Yeah.
Wait, so
it went
recreational people have to go to the medical
You
dispensary?
have to get a medical card, I presume, to go in a medical dispensary because Governor Yokin would not approve recreational dispensaries.
Oh.
So it's just been in limbo. Now he's done. There's 2 governors that one of them is going to be voted in. I think one of them is favorable and wants to get rec dispensaries. And I think that's why Virginia, I think we talked about 2 episodes ago or last episode, people in the state house and senate are starting to get prepped for this because whoever's coming in is going to approve it. So they're starting to write the laws and all that kind of shit. So we'll see.
We'll see. All right. A study found Snapchat's AI blocks answers about weed. How about that? And THC. But they gladly serve up information on alcohol and Delta-8 THC. Pretty wild informational censorship there, if you ask me. The United States tax court just slammed another blow. I don't even know if that makes sense. But cannabis operators cannot use their W-2 wages to claim the Section 199A qualified business income deduction because Section 280E disallows those wages and deductions. This means even more tax pain for cannabis businesses. They pay more and get less.
Slammed another blow.
Yep.
Got it. With the gavel.
South Carolina hemp farmer Dr. Allison Justice said red imported fire ants exploded in her crop, causing about 35% damage this year versus 1% in the past years. She's fighting back with a smart bait, S-methoprene, to kill off colonies from the inside out. When ants start eating your THC plants, that's not nature, that's war. Keep your bait ready.
Those fucking red ants are nasty.
Yeah.
I stepped in a nest when we lived in Florida when I was a kid.
Those things bit.
Holy, and they leave like little fucking whiteheads. Like they fuck you up. They're
hurt.
nasty.
It was like a
Ugh.
sting.
Oh my gosh.
Reform advocates are screeching that a new poll by a prohibitionist crew is misleading, suggesting legalizing THC is equal to marketing drugs to kids and giving cartels tax breaks. That poll strays from reality and distorts public will. That's like selling someone a movie ticket, but the preview is propaganda. Yeah. I agree. A New York judge says 152 cannabis dispensaries can stay open, even though regulators admit they license them too close to schools. They measured from the school door and not the property line. That's a big oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rowan County, North Carolina troopers on I-85 near exit 76 pulled over a rider that their canine tests alerted for narcotics. They ended up slashing open 4 big suitcases packed with weed. There was cash inside, too. Bipartisan House members are blasting a proposed hemp THC ban in the current spending bill, saying it violates congressional rules and would deal a fatal blow to farmers and small businesses. They're cooking up a replacement measure to regulate instead of ban. That's like trying to shut down the whole bakery because someone didn't like a loaf of bread. Let's just bake smarter, not destroy the cake. A Utah church called Sugarleaf is suing after raids on their sanctuaries, where law enforcement seized vapes, cannabis, and psilocybin mushrooms claimed as sacramental property.
Yeah. Hell yeah, it is. There's angels
right?
in those leaves.
They say officers busted in with riot gear. They disabled cameras and disrupted religious practices. I guess church isn't a sanctuary space these days. All right, Mr. Weedman, back to you.
Some more political state and business news. A poll from a conservative firm shows a majority of Americans now say marijuana isn't dangerous, even as Trump weighs rescheduling cannabis federally. It's wild. People used to hush weed talk like it's taboo. Now they're saying not dangerous and making the skeptics hit mute. Feds just moved to dismiss a marijuana plus gun rights case in anticipation of a big Supreme Court ruling. They're trying to kill it without prejudice, meaning they could bring it back later. The defendant pushing back wants dismissal with prejudice, so the threat is gone forever. That's like saying, hey, let me pause the fight. Maybe the ref will change the rules soon. Let's see what this high court brings. Bipartisan House lawmakers are blasting proposed hemp THC ban tucked into a spending bill as a procedural cheat. Violates congressional rules, they say, and would deal a fatal blow to farmers and small businesses. They're drafting a replacement that regulates not crushes the hemp market. That's like sneaking in a ban under the cover of night. Wake up, Congress. We see you. Denver's rollout the High Road cannabis shopping guide to spotlight social equity licensed businesses. They want to help you pick where you buy, support justice, and build industry fairness. If your business qualifies, submit by October 6, 2025. It's like Yelp, but for ganja. Heads up, Blaze folks. After Donald Trump posted a video praising CBD for seniors, the cannabis stocks soared. Cannabis, Tilray jumped 20%, MSO ETF shot up 25%, and rescheduling hopes lit back up. It's like tossing a hot ember on dry grass, one spark, and the whole market catches fire. The DOJ plans to extend the stay on cannabis rescheduling until now, January 27th of 2026, delaying any decisions for months. Trump had promised action in weeks, but that's getting pushed back hard. That's like waiting for your pizza delivery past closing time. Yeah, it's coming. Meanwhile, you're fucking hungry.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Senator Mary Floswowski married to Mike Wazowski, Senator Patrick Testin and Representative Patrick Schneider dropped a bill to legalize medical cannabis in Wisconsin, Ms. Weedman, with licensed systems for growers, dispensaries, labs, and safeguards against abuse. Wisconsin's about to go from cheese state to chief state. That is political state and business news now. All right. I did not write this article. Mrs. Weedman didn't write this article. This is someone's opinion, and one of my favorite journalists' opinion. This is going to be a little controversial. Would you say, Mrs. Weedman?
Yeah, it's just a perspective, though. I mean,
Very good perspective. So,
if anything, at the end of the day, it's about the culture of cannabis, and a big part of the culture of cannabis being like an expanded consciousness, being more open-minded.
Yes.
So with that being said,
Yes.
here we go.
I love it. So the pendulum swings from woke to holy, how cannabis users must navigate the new religious revival. Reginald Reefer, buddy. Kudos.
Yeah.
Take it
All
away,
right.
Mrs. Weedman.
Here we go. Pass that joint and settle in, because we need to talk about how America's latest cultural swing got so damn extreme. We're watching a textbook pendulum effect. Woke ideology pushed so hard into authoritarian territory that it created the perfect conditions for an equally authoritarian backlash wrapped in Christian nationalism. Let's be clear about what happened. What started as reasonable calls for tolerance and inclusion morphed into something far more sinister, a movement that demanded total ideological compliance under the threat of social destruction. When men can get pregnant became a mandatory belief rather than a compassionate accommodation. When questioning any aspect of intersectional orthodoxy made you a literal Nazi, the movement stopped being about justice and became more about power. The woke movement wasn't tackling systemic problems. It was systematically destroying individual thinking. They replaced Martin Luther King's dream of judging people by character with a rigid caste system based on immutable characteristics. They weren't anti-racist. They just redistributed racism with new targets. The constant demand that everyone accept increasingly contradictory claims as absolute truth broke something fundamental in American discourse. And now we're seeing the inevitable backlash. Moderate people who are tired of being called bigots for believing basic biological reality are swinging toward Trump and Christian nationalism. It's like watching someone quit drinking by becoming a religious fundamentalist, trading one form of mental imprisonment for another. This matters especially for cannabis users because both extremes are hostile to free thinking. Woke ideology demands you to accept predetermined conclusions without question. Christian nationalism does the same thing, with different conclusions. Both systems punish curiosity, independent thought, and the kind of conscious exploration that cannabis culture has always valued. We're entering an age of AI, with a population trained to accept whatever authority figure tells them what to think. Whether that authority is a blue-haired professor screaming about microaggressions or a preacher claiming God wants America to be Christian ethno-state, the pattern is the same. Surrender your individual judgment to the collective. The real tragedy is that this pendulum swing was entirely predictable and entirely avoidable. The transformation of progressive politics from live and let live to comply or be destroyed didn't happen overnight, but the damage it caused was swift and devastating. What started as reasonable requests for basic respect became an authoritarian system that demanded total submission to increasingly absurd claims. The breaking point wasn't about gay rights or racial equality, issues where most Americans had already evolved. It was when the movement demanded that biological reality itself be subordinated to ideological purity. When saying women are adult human females became hate speech, when acknowledging that men and women have different athletic capabilities became transphobia, the movement lost any connection to rational discourse. This wasn't about helping transgender people who deserve respect and accommodation. This was about power, specifically the power to force others to publicly affirm beliefs they didn't hold. It's one thing to ask for tolerance, it's another to demand that everyone participate in your worldview or face social annihilation. The intersectionality framework that emerged was particularly toxic because it explicitly rejected individual evaluation in favor of group based judgments. Instead of treating people as unique individuals with complex identities, it created a rigid hierarchy where your moral worth was determined by how many oppression points you could accumulate. White gay men found themselves classified as oppressors. Working class straight women were told to check their privilege. The whole system became a parody of the equality it claimed to seek. But the real damage destroyed people's ability to think clearly about truth and evidence. When lived experience became more important than objective reality, when questioning any aspect of the orthodoxy marked you as evil, critical thinking itself became suspect. Universities, once bastions of intellectual inquiry, became indoctrination centers where students learned to police each other's thoughts. The cannabis community should have seen this coming. We've always understood that forced consensus is the enemy of truth.
Mm.
When someone tells you that you must believe something or face punishment, that's not education, it's coercion. The same mentality that created reefer madness just found new targets. The movement's obsession with language policing is particularly revealing. Constantly changing terminology, demanding people use specific pronouns, creating new words for concepts that already had perfectly good descriptions. This wasn't about communication, it was about submission. Every time you force someone to say birthing person instead of mother, you weren't advancing equality, you were demonstrating your power to control their speech. The tragic irony is that this authoritarian overreach undermined legitimate progressive goals. Real issues like police reform, economic inequality, and environmental protection got overshadowed by cultural battles over pronouns and bathroom access. Meanwhile, the constant accusations of racism and bigotry lost their power through overuse. When everything is Nazi behavior, nothing is.
Oof.
This created the perfect conditions for backlash. Moderate Americans who supported gay marriage and racial equality suddenly found themselves classified as bigots for maintaining basic biological literacy. They didn't suddenly become conservative. They were pushed there by a movement that couldn't tolerate disagreement. The swing toward Christian nationalism isn't happening in a vacuum. It's a direct response to woke authoritarianism. When one ideological system demands total compliance, people often flee to another system that promises simple answers and more moral certainty. Unfortunately, they're just trading one form of mental imprisonment for another. Trump's appeal makes perfect sense when you understand what moderate Americans just endured. After years of being told they were racist, sexist, transphobic monsters for holding basic common sense beliefs, they found someone who said, "Actually, you're not crazy. Men really can't get pregnant." The relief was so profound that people overlooked the authoritarian tendencies that came with the package. Christian nationalism offers everything woke ideology denied: clear categories, stable definitions, and the validation that your traditional beliefs aren't evil. It tells exhausted parents that their concerns about radical gender ideology in schools are legitimate. It tells working class Americans that their cultural values matter. More importantly, or most importantly, it says here, it promises to fight back against the people who spent years calling them bigots. But here's the problem: it's still authoritarianism, just with different symbols. Instead of demanding you accept that men can menstruate, it demands that you accept that America was divinely ordained as a Christian nation. Instead of forcing you to use preferred pronouns, it wants to force prayer in schools. The mechanism is identical: Surrender your individual judgment to collective authority. The psychological appeal is obvious. After years of chaotic, contradictory, woke demands, Christian nationalism offers stability and certainty. Binary thinking becomes a relief when you've been forced to navigate an ever changing maze of intersectional rules. God said it, I believe it, that settles it. Feels refreshing after being told that objective truth is a white supremacist construct. Research shows that people experiencing ideological whiplash often exhibit increased preference for authoritarian leadership and simplistic explanations. Christian nationalism provides moral certainty through absolute frameworks that eliminate cognitive burden. When you've been psychologically exhausted by demands to hold contradictory beliefs simultaneously, the appeal of never having to think critically again becomes overwhelming. For cannabis users, this should be terrifying. The same movement that wants to restore traditional values has historically been the driving force behind drug prohibition.
Mm.
The mindset that sees cannabis as the devil's lettuce is making a comeback, and this time it has the momentum of righteous anger against woke excesses. The spiritual bypassing mechanisms are already evident. Political objectives are being framed as divine mandates, making criticism equivalent to opposing God. The same psychological tricks that made people accept that biological sex is a social construct are now being used to make them accept that America's problems can be solved through prayer and religious authority. Both systems share the same fundamental flaw. They require the surrender of individual critical thinking in favor of collective ideology. Whether you're being told to trust the science while ignoring actual science, or trust God's plan while ignoring observable reality, you're being asked to stop thinking for yourself. The cannabis community has always understood that consciousness expansion requires questioning authority, not submitting to it.
Oh, yeah.
The current pendulum swing between woke authoritarianism and Christian nationalism represents a false choice that both cannabis culture and the coming AI age will ultimately reject. Both systems demand the same thing: the surrender of individual critical thinking to collective authority. We're entering an era where AI systems can process complexity far beyond human cognitive limitations, making binary ideological frameworks increasingly obsolete. You can't navigate an information rich, technologically sophisticated world with rigid either or thinking. The future belongs to those who can hold multiple perspectives simultaneously, who can question assumptions and adapt their beliefs based on new evidence. Cannabis users have always understood this. The plant teaches cognitive flexibility, perspective talking, and comfort with uncertainty. Exactly the skills needed for the AI age. While society swings between different forms of mental imprisonment, our cannabis community maintains something precious: the commitment to free thinking.
Hell yeah.
The tragic irony is that both extremes claim to fight authoritarianism while practicing it themselves. Woke ideology claimed to fight oppression while creating new forms of ideological tyranny. Christian nationalism claims to restore freedom while demanding religious conformity. Neither system leaves room for the individual consciousness that cannabis culture has always celebrated. As we watch these cultural wars play out, our role isn't to pick sides between competing authoritarianisms. It's to model what genuine tolerance looks like: accepting people as individuals, questioning all authority,
Mm.
and maintaining the cognitive flexibility that comes from regularly expanding our consciousness. The pendulum will eventually settle, but free thinking is eternal.
Oh my God, that last part, that last paragraph in the last sentence, oh, made my heart just fall so
I'll
full.
repeat it because you might have talked at
Oh,
the same
just
time. Yeah.
repeat it.
The
Say it again.
pendulum will eventually settle, but free thinking is eternal.
Mm. To all my free thinkers out
Thanks,
there.
Reggie.
Reginald Reefer, I will need to eat pizza with you and
Mm.
do a show with you one day. I can learn so much from you. And I do every time we read one of your articles. You write so well. And this was just so, it filled my heart. It just did, because it's so true, you know? and I don't wanna get into it because Reginald said enough, and I don't wanna take anything away from that because it was absolutely divine. Oh my gosh. International news. Buenos Aires is gearing up for Global Cannabis Forum in 2025 on October 15th, a B2B business cannabis summit bringing together execs, investors, policy wonks, and scientists to tap into Latin America's green growth. High Times capped at 300 insiders. So it's built for deals, not just fluff. So just the
Nice.
big wigs get to go, the corpos. In Victoria, Australia, 3 people were charged after cops raided warehouses and shipping containers tied to an organized crime syndicate. They seized 86 cannabis plants, 25 kilograms of dried herb, over $200,000 in cash, plus a little cocaine and encrypted devices. That's a full-blown grow factory. Like they read the ganja playbook and said, yes, we'll take all of it. A new app called I Can Change is being piloted to help young adults with first episode psychosis manage their cannabis use. It includes modules on education, self-monitoring, coping strategies, goal setting, and relapse prevention. Finally, your phone's doing more than memes. It's trying to keep you grounded when your mind wants to float. A new German study found that teen marijuana use dropped after adult use legalization. Youth ages 12 to 17 using it in the past year fell from 6.7% in 2023 to 6.1%. Regular use also down a bit. Meanwhile, young adults 18 to 25 edged up slightly. So much for the fear-mongering. Legalizing weed didn't turn teens into stoners. Guess regulation plus education might actually work. In BC, British Columbia, a public service strike expanded to cannabis and liquor warehouses, cutting off supply to retailers. Independent stores say they're hurting them bad. They can't stock up, and cannabis, goes bad after a while. And cash-only warehouse rules make it even worse.
Hmm.
Blockchain stepping into the CTV for cannabis. Citizen Green, powered by GCAC, is streaming a channel with ads, interactivity, QR coupons, COA scans, and e-wallet deals. Because the FCC won't let weed ads on normal TV, this is the new frontier. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, Judge Ernest Morris ruled that the smell of marijuana alone can't justify a warrantless vehicle search, recognizing that the Cannabis Use Act legalization means odor is no longer enough probable cause. Good for you, Judge Ernest Morris. Thailand, at a cannabis crossroad, new Prime Minister Newton, who once led liberalization, may steer policy towards strict medical regulations, reining in the wild access, licensing, and quality controls. But the crackdown threatens 12,000 bud shops. Not 2,000, 12,000 bud shops. The move could
That's a
pivot
lot.
the countries toward export ambitions or provoke political backlash. New South Wales just rejected sweeping cannabis reform from parliamentary inquiry. No legalization, no decriminalization. But the government says it's open to tweaking drug driving laws and reinvesting some issues in its drug summit response. And that is international news, everybody.
Hmm.
High Times been around for a hot minute. I remember reading a bunch of them in tattoo parlors and people's houses and stuff like that, right? And so there's some issues out there.
Yeah.
There's some issues out there that have been around for a hot minute. And some of your old High Times issues, if you have any, that are in good shape, maybe not in the greatest shape, but if they're super ultra white whale-ish, meaning like ultra rare, we used to say that in the beer industry, a white whale was like the rarest of beers. So if you got a white whale,
Maybe get it looked at if you want to know more about
yeah,
it.
your old High Times may be worth something. Tell us about it,
Yeah.
Mrs. Weedman.
You can't underestimate the overall impact of High Times in the world of printed media and counterculture over the decades. It unapologetically pushed the envelope of what publishers could get away with, paving the way for future generations of cannabis publications. In other words, this is no normal magazine. Today, these issues are highly collectible. The king of all High Times issues, however, will always be the premier edition. The magazine's legendary emergence led to 6 decades worth of priceless issues. Founded by Tom Forcade, the original team spared no expense in printing the first edition. In June 1974, with an initial run reportedly around 10,000 copies, High Times debuted. The premiere issue features a heavy stock card foil cover with a photo of model Elizabeth Donahue about to consume a shroom. Its original metallic sheen must have been awe-inspiring to the magazine's first readers who'd never seen anything like it. The original crew was A pot all-star team, including expert grower Ed Rosenthal, Woodstock pamphlet editor Ed Dwyer, Yippie's founder Dana Beal, and others. While early issues featured information on assorted drugs, the magazine slowly evolved to focus on cannabis and natural psychedelics. The magazine's design also evolved over the decades, reflecting the changing times while keeping its core identity unmistakable. Those back issues are typically worth much more than their retail price. Thanks to organizations like Certified Guarantee Company, or CGC, founded about 25 years ago, the premier edition of High Times is a hot ticket item among collectors. CGC is a member of the Certified Collectors Group. The company has certified over 90 million coins, banknotes, comic books, TCGs, sports cards, video games, home video collectibles, stamps, and more. They adopt the industry standard 10-point grading scale to evaluate collectibles. Gem Mint, being a 10.0 point grade, is the highest grade a collectible can reach. It must have no evidence of any manufacturing or handling defects. For a magazine, it must come from an immaculate print run with no defects in the offset prints. In collecting, a magazine's grade is a significant factor in driving value and demand, Nikki O, a representative of CGC, told High Times in an emailed statement. What are the most common magazine defects that collectors typically see? Nikki O said the most common defects that will lower a magazine's grade include creases, tears, missing pieces, and staining, all of which usually occur shortly after a magazine hits the stands and is lovingly read and handled, she wrote. This makes high-grade magazines harder to find, and when they do turn up, they can fetch big bucks. Realistically, a magazine from the 1970s can only hope to reach an 8.5, maybe 9.5 grade, with a certified 8.5 going for $1,500. If you really want your magazine's true value, get a collectible grade certified by an organization like CGC. Not all High Times issue number 1 are equal. Collectors emphasize that the very first printing stood apart. It was produced on shiny metallic cardstock with no premiere issue or summer 1974 markings, since it was originally conceived as a one-off. Later printings introduced the premiere issue text, different cover prices, and eventually staggered cover lines. As former editors Danny Danko and Chris Simonik have noted, the first metallic run is the most coveted among collectors, with one copy auctioned at a High Times normal benefit for $10,000, though most fetch much lower amounts on the open market. Signed copies of High Times can be purchased via different online vendors, notably eBay and Etsy. They go for a few $100s or more. You can expect to pay a few $100s per signed issue, too, depending on the star power of each subject. High Times intentionally represented the higher end because they just had the High Times, they auctioned off the whole, everything. The company auctioned
Yeah.
off
Oh, yeah. Remember
all
that
of
we
its,
saw that.
its whole collection.
Remember you and I talked
Yeah.
about it. You could have got their website.
So maybe that's
Yeah.
why there's more.
Right.
Maybe that's why they might be available right now,
Yeah.
where you can get some. High Times intentionally represented the higher end of lifestyle magazines to destigmatize pot smokers worldwide. It was national recognition that the underground newspapers were credible news organizations and could no longer be dismayed as crazy hippie ramblings, former editor John Holstrom told me in 2023. Holstrom began working with the magazine early on and was managing editor in 1987. The intrinsic value of these magazines often surpasses what they're actually worth. They can transport you back to another time. And that's it. So check them
Nice.
out. I would check them out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
There might be a cool
You might
one that you
have
can
some
get. Yeah.
packed
Yeah,
away.
you
Maybe
might
your-
even have some.
Maybe your mom has them in the attic. She didn't throw them out. Maybe it might be worth something someday, sonny boy.
It's possible.
Could be.
Mhm.
Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yep.
You got anything else to say?
Pass that joint.
You gotta light it again.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks
Miss
everybody.
Weedman.
Thanks everybody for listening out there. We appreciate you all. I also like to thank Redemption Botanicals for throwing to the cause. Appreciate your weed. Got us nice and high. Mrs. Weedman going to close it out with that joint. But thank you all out there for listening. We love you. Thanks for everybody that supports the show. We love you out there. We really appreciate you. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.